Jin-Ah held her breath as the storm outside crashed against the windows. The wind howled like a wounded animal. Rain pounded the roof of their small research outpost. Lightning flashed, illuminating the sparse room where she and her daughter Yunjae huddled together. "The storm is getting worse," Jin-Ah said, pulling her daughter closer. The 7-year-old girl clutched her stuffed rabbit, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and excitement. Their home was not much, just a research facility tucked away in the mountains of what people once called North America. The world had changed since the consortium had arrived 3 months ago. Aliens were real, and they had come to Earth with their massive ships and strange technology. The news channels called it First Contact. Jin-Ah had chosen this remote location for her xenobiology research long before anyone knew aliens existed. Now, her work seemed more important than ever. She studied how different life forms might interact and adapt to each other. The isolation suited her and Yunji well enough. They had each other, and that was what mattered. "Mom." Yunji tilted her head. "Did you hear that?" Jin-Ah froze. Among the storm's chaos came a new sound, a shrieking, metallic noise that didn't belong to any weather pattern. Something crashed nearby, making the entire building shake. "That wasn't thunder," Jin-Ah whispered. The crash was followed by silence. Then came a strange humming sound. Jin-Ah moved quickly. She grabbed her emergency kit from under the bed and handed Yunji a small flashlight. "Stay behind me, okay? Don't make any noise." Yunji nodded, her small face suddenly serious. Jin-Ah pulled on her raincoat and grabbed her handheld scanner. She hesitated at the door, then picked up the kitchen knife. Better to have something than nothing at all. "We're just going to look," she told Yunji. "If I say run, you run back inside as fast as you can." The rain had eased slightly when they stepped outside. Steam rose from the wet ground, mixing with the mountain fog. Jin-Ah squinted through the mist, following the tracker's beeping. The signal led them down a muddy path behind their facility. They found it in a clearing, a small ship, unlike any Earth craft. Its metal skin gleamed with strange symbols. One side was crushed and smoking. The ship had dug a deep trench in the Earth when it crashed. "Is it from the consortium?" Yunji whispered, peeking from behind her mother. Jin-Ah checked her scanner. Life signs inside. 2 of them. She approached slowly, her heart pounding in her chest. The knife felt useless in her hand. A section of the ship suddenly moved. What looked like solid metal slid open with a hiss of escaping air. Steam poured out from the opening, clouding their vision. Jin-Ah pulled Yunji behind her. "Hello," she called, trying to keep her voice steady. "We can help you." A figure appeared in the doorway. Not human. That was clear immediately. The being stood as tall as Jin-Ah, but was thinner, with smooth blue skin that seemed to glow faintly. Its eyes were large, almond-shaped, and solid black. Jin-Ah somehow knew, was cradling something against her chest. The alien woman stumbled forward. Dark liquid dripped from a wound on her leg. In her arms was a smaller being, a child perhaps, wrapped in shimmering fabric. "Help," the alien female said, her voice coming through a small device at her throat. The translation was rough but understandable. "They are coming. Please help." Jin-Ah hesitated only a moment before rushing forward to support the alien as she swayed unsteadily. "Who's coming?" Jin-Ah asked, helping the injured alien toward the facility. "What happened to you?" "Consortium hunters." The alien's black eyes darted nervously to the sky. The rain plastered her silver hair to her head. "I am Hannah of the Vexari. This is my son, Taiho." The small being in her arms stirred, revealing a face much like his mother's, but with softer features. His eyes opened, brilliant gold with vertical pupils like a cat's. "The consortium wants him," Hannah continued, her voice breaking with fear. "They want all Vexari children. Our biology. Special. They would make him a weapon." They reached the facility door. Jin-Ah helped Hannah inside, where Yunjai had already spread a blanket on the floor. The alien sank down gratefully, still clutching her child. "You're hurt," Jinnah said, grabbing her medical kit. "Let me help you." As Jinnah cleaned the wound on Hannah's leg, she noticed the strange texture of the alien's skin, smooth like polished stone, but warm and flexible. The cut oozed blue-black liquid instead of blood. "Your world," Hannah said, watching Jinnah work. "It has only just met the stars. You don't know the dangers." The consortium seemed peaceful when they arrived. Jinnah said, "They offered technology, medical knowledge." Hannah made a sound like bitter laughter. "They take more than they give. Always." The little alien child, Taiho, watched Jinnah with unblinking golden eyes. Yunji approached carefully, holding out her stuffed rabbit as an offering. The child reached for it with 6-fingered hands. A loud beeping from Jinnah's console interrupted them. Jinnah rushed to check it. 3 unidentified craft entering Earth's atmosphere, she read aloud, her stomach dropping. Projected landing site, less than 5 miles from here. "They have found us," Hannah whispered, pulling Taiho closer. "They track my ship." "Who exactly are they?" Jinnah demanded. "Why are they hunting you?" "The consortium needs our biology. The Vexeri can adapt to any environment, bond with any species." Hannah stroked her son's head gently. "Our children are especially valuable. They can be shaped, molded. Weapons that can survive anywhere." The console beeped again. The ships were descending rapidly. "We have to go," Jinnah said, already gathering supplies. "My truck can." "No." Hannah stood shakily, her face set with determination. "They will never stop hunting. There is only one way." She held out her son toward Jinnah. "Take him. Hide him." "What?" "No. We'll all go together." "Take me," Hannah said, her voice breaking. "Protect my child. If they have me, they may stop looking for him." For a time, Jinnah stared at the alien mother, understanding washing over her like cold water. Hannah was offering herself as a sacrifice. "I can't let you do that," Jinnah whispered. Hannah's black eyes filled with what might have been tears. "You would do the same for her." She nodded toward Yunji, who was showing Taiho how to hold the stuffed rabbit. The console alarm grew louder. The ships would land soon. "Please," Hannah begged, a mother to a mother. "Take me. Protect my child." Jinnah paced the small room, trying to make sense of what the alien mother was suggesting. Outside, the storm had calmed, but something far more dangerous was approaching. The emergency lights cast strange shadows across Hannah's blue skin as she sat cradling her child. "You want me to what?" Jinnah finally stopped pacing and stared at Hannah in disbelief. "You can't just give yourself up to them." Hannah's large black eyes reflected the dim light. She gently stroked her sleeping child's silver hair. Taiho made small chirping sounds in his sleep, his tiny 6-fingered hands clutching the edge of the blanket Jinnah had provided. "My people can adapt to any biological system. We can survive in any environment, bond with any species." Hannah spoke softly so as not to wake her son. "The consortium hunts us for this trait. They want to study us, use us, turn us into living weapons." Jinnah shook her head. "But giving yourself up. If I surrender myself, they may be satisfied." Hannah interrupted. "It will buy you time to hide Taiho. They want an adult specimen. He is still developing, still pure." Her voice broke on the last word. Jinnah looked over at her daughter, Yunji, who sat cross-legged on the floor with Taiho. The alien child had woken up and was examining Yunji's collection of colorful rocks with fascination. Yunji was explaining each one in the patient voice she used with younger children. "Look, this one is quartz. It shines in the light," Yunji said, holding up a crystal to the lamp. Taiho's golden eyes widened as the stone caught the light. "Why trust me?" Jinnah turned back to Hannah. "I'm a stranger. You don't know anything about me. Hannah's gaze was steady. I sense your protective nature. You understand a mother's love. Her eyes flicked to Yunji. I have nothing else to give my son but a chance. The computer console on Jinnah's desk suddenly beeped loudly. The screen flashed with a warning. Incoming transmission from Consortium Command. Jinnah rushed to the console and pressed a button. A holographic display appeared above the desk, revealing the stern face of a humanoid alien. His skin was gray and smooth, with ridges where eyebrows would be on a human. His eyes were narrow and entirely white, without pupils. This is Captain Do-hyun of the Consortium Enforcement Division. The alien spoke in a flat voice that seemed to fill the room. We detect a fugitive Vexari vessel in your area. Our scanners show 2 Vexari life forms at your location. Surrender the occupants immediately. Jinnah swallowed hard, trying to keep her voice steady. This is a private research facility. I don't know what you're talking about. Captain Do-hyun's expression didn't change. Lying to Consortium officials is a serious offense under the New Earth Consortium Treaty. We will arrive at your location in 3 hours. Have the Vexari ready for transfer. Consortium out. A hologram disappeared. Jinnah's hands shook as she turned back to Hannah. They'll be here by midnight, she said. We need to run. My truck can get us through the mountain pass end. No. Hannah stood up, her slender form suddenly seeming stronger. They will track us. Their ships are faster than any Earth vehicle. There is no escape. There must be another way, Jinnah insisted. Hannah approached her slowly. There isn't. But know this, Vexari children form telepathic bonds with their caregivers. It is how we share knowledge, how we learn. She looked over at the children. Taeho will connect with your daughter if I'm gone. It has already begun. Jinnah followed her gaze. Yunji and Taeho were sitting very still, facing each other. The small alien child had his hands raised, and what looked like tiny sparks of golden light danced between his fingertips. Yunji was watching, mesmerized. What is he doing? Jinnah whispered, showing her his memories. Hannah explained. Our homeworld, before the Consortium came. The forests that sing, the floating cities. A single tear slid down her cheek. He is too young to remember much, but what he knows, he shares. Jinnah felt her heart breaking for this alien mother who was prepared to sacrifice everything for her child. It was a feeling she understood all too well. After Yunji's father had died 3 years ago, Jinnah had moved them to this remote facility, away from the dangers of the crowded cities. She had given up her promising career at a major research university to protect her daughter. I'll protect him, Jinnah said finally. I promise. The hours passed too quickly. Jinnah gathered supplies, food, water, warm clothes, her research notes. She loaded everything into her old truck, hidden in a small shed behind the main building. If she had to run with the children, she would be ready. Night fell. The mountains became dark shapes against the starry sky. Hannah spent the time teaching Jinnah what she could about Taeho, what he could eat, how his body worked, the words in his language for basic needs. He sleeps more than human children, Hannah explained. His body changes as he grows, adapting to his environment. When the time came, Hannah woke her son gently. Taeho blinked his golden eyes slowly, then chirped a question in his native language. Yes, little one, Hannah answered in English so Jinnah could understand. It is time. I must go away for a while. Taeho made a distressed sound. His tiny hands clutched at his mother's clothes. Listen to me, Hannah said, kneeling to look into her son's eyes. Jinnah will care for you now. She and Yunji are your new family. You must be brave. Hannah pressed her forehead against her son's in a long, silent moment. Jinnah wondered if they were communicating telepathically, sharing a final private goodbye. The distant hum of engines broke the silence. Lights appeared in the sky, moving closer. They're here, Jinnah whispered. Hannah stood up and handed Taeho to Jinnah. Hide in the storage cellar. Do not come out until they are gone. Jinnah took Taiho, who felt surprisingly light in her arms. "What will they do to you?" "It doesn't matter," Hannah said firmly. "What matters is that my son lives free." The consortium ships landed in the clearing near the crashed Vexari vessel. Bright floodlights swept across the ground, illuminating everything in harsh white light. Jinnah, Yunji, and Taeho hid in the storage cellar beneath the main building, watching through a small ventilation slot. Hannah stood alone in front of the facility, her blue skin glowing in the ship's lights. Consortium troops emerged from their vessels, tall, heavily armored figures carrying strange weapons. Captain Do-hyun walked at the front, his white eyes gleaming. "Where is the child?" he demanded. "Gone," Hannah answered simply. "I sent him away before I crashed. You will never find him." Do-hyun studied her for a moment. "Search the facility," he ordered his troops. Jinnah held her breath as heavy footsteps moved above them. Yunji pressed her small hand over Taiho's mouth to keep him quiet. The alien child trembled but made no sound. After what seemed like hours, the footsteps retreated. "Nothing, Captain," a voice reported. "Only the adult Vexari." "Take her," Do-hyun commanded. "She will tell us where the child is eventually." Rough hands seized Hannah. She did not struggle as they bound her wrists with glowing restraints. As they dragged her toward their ship, she turned her head toward the hidden cellar, her black eyes seeming to find Jinnah's through the walls themselves. Jinnah watched from hiding as they took Hannah away, Taeho silently weeping in her arms. The ships rose into the night sky, their engines flaring bright against the stars, taking with them a mother who had given everything to save her child. The old green truck bumped along cracked roads that nobody used anymore. Jinnah gripped the steering wheel tightly, her eyes constantly checking the mirrors. For 3 weeks they had been moving, never staying in one place for more than a day. Jinnah glanced at the 2 children in the passenger seat. Her daughter Yunji sat with the alien child Taeho squeezed beside her. They didn't need toys or games to keep them busy. Taeho held out his 6-fingered hands, making tiny colored lights dance from his fingertips. Yunji giggled as she tried to catch them. The sight made Jinnah smile despite everything. Taeho had barely spoken since they fled the research station. The loss of his mother had hit him hard, but in the past week he had started to play with Yunji, and sometimes he even smiled. "We need gas soon," Jinnah said, more to herself than the children. The needle on the fuel gauge was getting dangerously low. Going into towns was risky now. The world had changed quickly after Hannah surrendered herself. The consortium had made announcements on every news channel, calling Taeho a dangerous fugitive biological asset. They claimed that harboring him violated the New Earth Consortium Treaty. Some countries had quickly agreed to help find them. Others refused, arguing that the consortium had no right to hunt a child. The debate had split the planet almost in half. "Mom," Yunji had told her a few days after they fled. "I can hear him in my head." Jinnah had been making a simple dinner over a camping stove when Yunji said this. "What do you mean?" "Taeho. He talks to me without words." Yunji had tapped her temple. "He's scared, but he likes us. He misses his mom." Jinnah remembered Hannah's words about Vexari children forming mental bonds with their caregivers. She hadn't expected it to happen so quickly. Now, as they drove through the empty countryside, Jinnah wondered what else Taeho could do. She had seen him change the color of his skin slightly to match his surroundings when he was frightened. He could also go without food for days, apparently absorbing nutrients from sunlight like a plant. Almost there, Jinnah told the children as she turned the truck onto a dirt road that wound up into the hills. Trees closed in around them, hiding the vehicle from any passing aircraft. After another 20 minutes of careful driving, they reached a chain-link fence with a faded sign. "Danger. Abandon de mine. No e interai." Jinnah stopped the truck and flashed the headlights 3 times, then waited. The gate slowly swung open. Jinnah drove through quickly, and it closed behind them. A tall man stepped out from behind a small shed. He wore simple clothes, but his posture and watchful eyes revealed his military background. Commander Dae-sung had served with Jin-ah's late husband years ago. When everything went wrong, he was the only person Jin-ah could think to call. "You made it," Dae-sung said, approaching the truck. "Any problems on the road?" Jin-ah shook her head. "We stayed off the main highways, but we had to drive through Palmer City for gas. I think someone recognized me." Dae-sung frowned. "Inside, quickly. There's food waiting." They followed him through a heavy metal door built into the hillside. The abandoned mine had been converted into a small living space. There were beds, a kitchen area, and several screens showing camera feeds of the area outside. "It's not much," Dae-sung said, "but it's safe. The rock blocks most scanning technology." While the children ate the simple meal of rice and vegetables that Dae-sung had prepared, Jin-ah studied her old friend. His face looked tired, with new lines around his eyes. "Why are you helping us?" she asked quietly. "You're risking everything. Half the world's hunting you," he replied, leading her to a small desk covered with papers and screens. "The other half wants to study the boy. The consortium has offered huge rewards for information." "And you?" Jin-ah asked warily. "What do you want?" Dae-sung pressed a button on one of the screens. Images appeared, grainy footage showing the inside of what looked like a laboratory. Jin-ah gasped when she recognized the blue-skinned figure strapped to a table. "Hannah," she whispered, "I want to know why the consortium is breaking their own laws." Dae-sung said grimly, "A contact in the European Space Agency got me these images. They're experimenting on Hannah. That violates galactic bioethics treaties that the consortium themselves created." Jin-ah stared at the terrible images. Hannah's body was connected to various machines. Scientists in protective suits moved around her, taking samples, injecting her with strange liquids. How could they do this? Jin-ah's voice shook with anger. They presented themselves as peaceful when they arrived. They offered knowledge, technology. They lied, Dae-sung said simply, or at least they didn't tell the whole truth. The consortium isn't a single species. It's a federation of dozens of advanced civilizations. Some factions within it respect rights and laws. Others. He gestured at the screen. Others see species like the Vexari as resources to be used. "We have to help her," Jin-ah said. "We promised." Dae-sung nodded slowly. "It won't be easy. She's being held on their main ship in orbit. But I'm working on it. I have contacts, other military personnel who don't trust the consortium." "Thank you," Jin-ah said, feeling a small spark of hope for the first time in weeks. That night, the children slept on cots in a small side room. Jin-ah checked on them regularly, worried about Taiho's strange biology. Did he dream like human children? Did he need different air or temperature? There was so much she didn't know. Just after midnight, she was woken by screaming. "She hurts. Taiho's mom hurts." Jin-ah rushed to the children's room to find Eunji sitting upright, her face wet with tears. Taiho was also awake, his golden eyes glowing brightly in the darkness. The alien child's entire body trembled. "What's wrong?" Jin-ah asked, gathering both children in her arms. "I saw it," Eunji sobbed, "in my dream. But it wasn't a dream. Taiho showed me." As if in response, Taiho raised his small hands. The air between them shimmered, and an image formed, like a hologram, but created from light emanating from the child's fingertips. The image showed Hannah, her blue skin now pale and dull. She was strapped to a laboratory table, surrounded by machines. A scientist approached with a large needle. As it pierced Hannah's skin, the image flickered and disappeared. Taiho made a high-pitched keening sound, the first noise Jin-ah had heard from him since they fled the research station. The bond, Jin-ah realized. He can still feel his mother. "See what's happening to her. It hurts him too," Eunji whispered. "I can feel it." Dae-sung appeared in the doorway, awakened by the commotion. His eyes widened when he saw the fading glow from Taiho's fingertips. "What was that?" he asked. "A projection," Jinnah explained. "He showed us what they're doing to Hana right now." Dae-sung's face hardened. "This changes things. If he can see her, feel her, we might be able to find her." Jinnah finished the thought. "Use the connection somehow." Taiho looked up at Jinnah, his golden eyes wet with tears but suddenly focused. He reached out and touched her face with his small hand. In her mind, Jinnah heard a voice, not with her ears, but inside her thoughts. "Help, mother," the voice said. It was small and frightened, but determined. Jinnah pulled both children closer, holding them tightly against the cold and darkness. "We'll find a way to save her," she promised. "Somehow, we'll bring her back." Outside, the wind howled through the trees. Somewhere far above them, beyond Earth's atmosphere, Hana suffered alone, but she was not forgotten. 5 days had passed since Taiho showed them the vision of his mother's suffering. Jinnah and Dae-sung had been working tirelessly, reaching out to contacts who might help them. The abandoned mine had become a center of quiet rebellion, with a few trusted allies bringing supplies and information. Jinnah was helping the children gather firewood when Dae-sung called from the entrance. "Jinnah, come quickly." She dropped the sticks and grabbed the children's hands, rushing back to the mine entrance. Dae-sung pointed to the sky, where a strange light was moving between the clouds. "Is it them?" Jinnah asked, her heart racing. "The consortium." "No," Dae-sung said. His face looked tense but hopeful. "Someone else. Someone who might help us." The light grew brighter as it descended. It wasn't like the harsh spotlights of consortium ships. This light shimmered with changing colors, like sunlight through crystal. As it came closer, Jinnah could see that it was indeed a ship, but unlike any she had seen before. It seemed to be made of transparent, crystalline material that caught and reflected the sunlight. The ship landed gracefully in the clearing before the mine entrance. It made almost no sound, just a soft hum that faded as the engines powered down. "They're called the Quan," Dae-sung explained as they watched the elegant crystalline ship settle on the ground. "They oppose consortium expansion. I've been trying to contact them for weeks." "Who are they?" Jinnah asked, keeping the children close behind her. "Another alien species. They were part of the consortium once, but they broke away over ethical disagreements. They believe in freedom for all sentient beings." A section of the ship's hull suddenly became transparent, revealing an opening. 3 tall figures stepped out into the sunlight. Jinnah gasped softly. The beings were humanoid but much taller than humans, at least 7 feet in height. Their skin was a deep copper color that seemed to shimmer slightly, like metal. They had no hair, and their eyes were large and completely silver, with no visible pupils. The tallest of the 3 approached, walking with a fluid grace. He, Jinnah assumed it was male from the deeper voice, wore simple clothing of a shimmering material that changed color slightly as he moved. "I am Keiho," the alien said in perfect, unaccented English. "Commander Dae-sung contacted our outpost." He bowed slightly to Jinnah. "You must be the one who protects the Vexeri child." Taiho peeked out from behind Jinnah, his golden eyes wide with curiosity. When he saw the Quan, he made a soft chirping sound, the first sound of happiness Jinnah had heard from him. Kaiho knelt down to be at eye level with Taiho. "Hello, little one. It has been many years since our people met with the Vexeri." Taiho stepped forward cautiously. He raised his small hands, creating a pattern of colored lights between his fingertips. Keiho responded by creating a similar pattern with his own long-fingered hands. "He knows them," Yunji whispered to Jinnah. "In his memories, there are people like this. They were friends to his people." "We've monitored the situation on Earth since the consortium arrived," Keiho said, rising back to his full height. "What they are doing violates Galactic Council law. Experimenting on sentient beings is forbidden under treaties the consortium themselves helped create." "Can you help us rescue Hana?" Jinnah asked, hardly daring to hope. Yes, Kehoe replied, but we need evidence of their violations. The Galactic Council requires proof before they will intervene. We have images, Dae-sung said, but they're not enough. We need more. Kehoe looked at Tahoe. The child's telepathic connection to his mother can guide us to her. Vexary bonds are powerful, strong enough to penetrate consortium shielding. Jin-ah knelt beside Tahoe. Did you understand that? They think you can help us find your mother. Tahoe nodded solemnly. He placed his small hand on Jin-ah's cheek, and she heard his voice in her mind again. I find mother. Inside the Quan ship, Jin-ah marveled at the technology. The interior was spacious and filled with soft light that seemed to come from the walls themselves. There were no visible controls or screens. The Quan operated their ship with simple hand gestures. The plan formed quickly. The Quan would approach the consortium ship orbiting Earth, claiming to want diplomatic talks. Meanwhile, Jin-ah and Dae-sung would infiltrate the vessel using Quan technology that could mask their life signs. What about the children? Jin-ah asked. I can't leave them alone. Yun-ji must come, Kehoe said. Her bond with Tahoe strengthens his abilities. They will remain on our ship, safely hidden, while you enter the consortium vessel. Jin-ah didn't like it, but she saw no other choice. They had to save Hana. The Quan provided them with special suits that would protect them and help them breathe aboard the consortium ship. They also gave them small devices to place on their temples. These will allow Tahoe to guide you through the ship, Kehoe explained. He will see through your eyes and direct you to his mother. As they prepared to leave, Jin-ah hugged both children tightly. Be brave, she told them. We'll be back soon with your mother, Tahoe. The journey to the consortium ship took only minutes in the fast Quan vessel. Through the transparent hull, Jin-ah could see Earth below them, a beautiful blue-green sphere. The consortium mothership loomed ahead, massive and dark against the stars. Consortium Command, this is Quan diplomatic vessel requesting audience. Kehoe transmitted. We wish to discuss the recent treaty violations on Earth. After a tense wait, they received permission to dock. The Quan ship attached itself to a small port on the underside of the massive consortium vessel, away from the main docking base. This is where we part, Kehoe told Jin-ah and Dae-sung. The diplomatic team will keep them busy. You have 1 hour before they realize something is wrong. Jin-ah knelt before the children one last time. Stay here. Stay safe. Tahoe placed his hands on her temples. Images flashed through Jin-ah's mind. Corridors, doors, security systems. He was sharing what he could see through his connection to his mother. Ready? Dae-sung asked, checking his weapon. Jin-ah nodded, feeling the weight of their mission. Ready. They entered the consortium ship through a small maintenance hatch. The corridors were cold and brightly lit, with strange symbols marking the walls. Jin-ah felt Tahoe's presence in her mind, gently guiding her. Left here, she whispered to Dae-sung. Then down 2 levels. They moved quickly but carefully, avoiding the few consortium personnel they encountered. The ship was enormous, with countless corridors and rooms. Without Tahoe's guidance, they would have been hopelessly lost. Finally, they reached a heavily secured area. She's here, Jin-ah said, feeling Tahoe's excitement and fear. Behind this door, Dae-sung used a Quan device to bypass the security system. The door slid open silently, revealing a laboratory. And there, strapped to a table in the center of the room, was Hana. The Vexary woman looked terrible. Her once vibrant blue skin was pale and dull. Tubes and wires connected her to various machines. Her eyes were closed, but her chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. She was alive. Hana, Jin-ah whispered, rushing to her side. We're here to take you home. But before they could free her, a voice came from the shadows. Humans are so predictable. Captain Do-hyun stepped into the light, a weapon trained on them. Behind him, several armed guards blocked the exit. Did you really think we wouldn't notice a Quan ship docking near our vessel? Do-hyun sneered. They are old enemies, full of misguided ideals about rights for lesser species. Jin-Ah's heart sank. They had come so close. The Vexari are not yours to experiment on, she said defiantly. The Galactic Council forbids it. The Council is far away, Du-Hyun replied, and Earth is a new primitive world eager for our technology. No one will question what happens here. Jin-Ah felt something change in her mind. Taiho's presence grew stronger, more urgent. An image flashed before her. Eunji holding Taiho's hands, their eyes closed in concentration. You've made one mistake, Jin-Ah said, stalling for time. You underestimated the bond between mother and child. Do-Hyun laughed. A touching sentiment, but he never finished. Suddenly, every light in the laboratory flickered. The machines connected to Hannah shut down. Do-Hyun's weapon made a strange sputtering noise and went dark. Back on the Quan ship, Eunji had taken Taiho's hands, strengthening their connection to Hannah. The telepathic surge temporarily disabled all consortium technology within range. It was an ability the Vexari rarely used. It drew too much of their life energy. But in this moment of desperation, Taiho had called upon it. In the confusion, Jin-Ah quickly freed Hannah from her restraints, while Dae-Sung used a Quan device to record evidence of the illegal experiments. The guards, their weapons useless, hesitated. Now, Dae-Sung shouted, helping Jin-Ah support the weakened Hannah. They pushed past the confused guards and ran for the exit. Do-Hyun shouted orders, but the ship's systems were still malfunctioning. Emergency lights cast eerie shadows as Jin-Ah and Dae-Sung carried Hannah through the corridors, following the mental path Taiho provided. They reached the Quan ship just as the consortium systems began to recover. The crystalline doors sealed behind them, and they felt the vessel detach from the mothership. We got her, Jin-Ah gasped as Taiho rushed forward to help. And we have the evidence. Taiho broke away from Eunji and ran to his mother. The small alien child placed his hands on Hannah's face, golden tears streaming from his eyes. A soft glow spread from his fingertips to Hannah's pale skin. Mother, his voice whispered in all their minds. You are safe now. Jin-Ah stood beside Taiho on the wide lawn outside the United Nations building in New York. Around them, representatives from every nation on Earth waited nervously. The sky was clear blue, with just a few clouds drifting lazily overhead. They're coming, Taiho said, his silver eyes looking upward. A point of light appeared in the sky, growing larger and brighter. It wasn't just one ship but three. Elegant vessels that seemed to be made of pure crystal and light. They descended slowly, gracefully, landing on the open area that had been prepared for them. The Galactic Council rarely intervenes directly, Taiho explained. This is a great honor for your world. The evidence they had gathered from the consortium ship had been transmitted across the galaxy through Quan communication channels. The recordings of Hannah's treatment, along with the data Dae-Sung had collected, showed clear violations of galactic law. The council representatives emerged from their ships, 7 beings, each from a different species. Some looked almost human, while others were so strange that Jin-Ah could barely understand what she was seeing. They moved with dignity and purpose toward the podium that had been set up. The tallest of the council members stepped forward. Its body seemed to be made of flowing water contained within a transparent skin. When it spoke, its voice was translated by devices the Quan had provided. We have reviewed the evidence concerning the actions of the consortium on this world, the council elder announced. Their conduct violates our most sacred laws regarding the treatment of sentient beings. Murmurs spread through the crowd. Jin-Ah felt Hannah squeeze her hand. The Vexari woman was still weak from her ordeal, but she had insisted on being present for this historic moment. The consortium's access to Earth is hereby restricted, the elder continued, and Earth is granted provisional protective status under Galactic Council law. The implications were enormous. Earth was now officially recognized as a world deserving protection from exploitation. Furthermore, the elder added, The Vexari people may claim asylum on Earth if they wish. Their biological abilities make them compatible with human physiology in ways that may benefit both species. As the council elder spoke, Jinnah thought about the journey that had brought them here. The terrifying night when Hana had crashed near her research station. The desperate weeks on the run. The daring rescue mission. And now, this moment that would change Earth's place in the galaxy forever. 2 weeks later, Jinnah sat on the porch of a small house in the countryside. The government had provided this safe haven for them, a place where Hana and Taiho could recover and adjust to life on Earth. In the garden, Taiho and Eunji were playing. The alien child no longer needed to use his hands to create light patterns. He could now make them appear in the air around him. Eunji was trying to catch them, laughing as they danced just beyond her reach. Hana came out of the house, moving slowly but steadily. Her blue skin had regained some of its healthy glow. She sat beside Jinnah, watching the children play. "He looks different," Jinnah observed. Taiho's golden eyes had developed visible pupils, making them look more human. His 6 fingers had somehow become 5 on each hand. "Our biology adapts completely to those we bond with," Hana explained. Taiho is becoming partly human through his connection with Eunji. The changes are not just mental but physical as well. "Is that normal for your species?" Hana nodded. "It is how we survived on many worlds before the consortium began hunting us. We adapt, we bond, we become part of the local ecosystem." She looked down at her own hands. "And she hesitated. "I find myself changing too." Jinnah noticed that Hana's skin had taken on a slightly pinker tone, and her solid black eyes now showed faint hints of iris and pupil. "Is it uncomfortable?" Jinnah asked. "No," Hana smiled. "It feels right, like becoming a new version of myself while still being me." Jinnah took her hand. "You're safe now, both of you." The days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. News reports showed that the consortium had withdrawn entirely from Earth's solar system. Their last official statement claimed they had misjudged human potential and would reconsider future interactions. What they didn't say publicly was that they feared human unpredictability. Humans had shown themselves willing to risk everything to protect not just their own kind, but aliens they barely knew. This was something the consortium couldn't understand or control. 6 months after the Council's decree, the first Vexari refugee ships began arriving on Earth. There weren't many. The Vexari were few in number after years of consortium hunting, but each arrival was celebrated. The Quan established an embassy in what had once been Geneva, Switzerland. Ki-ho became the first ambassador, working to help Earth navigate its new role in galactic politics. Dae-sung joined the newly formed Earth Space Defense Force, training humans to protect their world while respecting galactic laws. Jinnah was offered positions at prestigious universities around the world, but she chose to stay in their small country house. She continued her xenobiology research, now with the perfect subjects, a human Vexari household. One evening, as the sun was setting, Jinnah and Hana sat on the porch swing watching the children play. Taiho was teaching Eunji how to sense the emotions of small animals in the garden. They could communicate now without words, sharing thoughts and feelings through their strengthened bond. "May I ask you something?" Jinnah said, breaking the comfortable silence. "Of course," Hana replied. "What made you offer yourself that day? When you crashed near my station. You didn't know me at all, but you trusted me with your child." Hana was quiet for a moment, watching the fading sunlight paint the sky in shades of pink and gold. "I saw in your eyes what I felt in my heart," she finally said. "The willingness to sacrifice everything for a child." She looked at Taiho and Eunji, now inseparable. "I never imagined I'd gain a new family instead." Jinnah smiled. "Perhaps that's humanity's gift to the stars. We know that family isn't just about blood." In the distance, they saw a flash of light. Another ship was descending gently toward the designated landing area 5 miles away. More refugees coming to their new home. They will need help adjusting, Hannah said. Earth is very different from our home world. We'll help them, Jinnah promised. Together. As darkness fell, the children came running back to the house, tired but happy. Taiho's skin glowed softly in the twilight, illuminating their way. Yunji held his hand, completely comfortable with her alien brother. Jinnah looked at them, this strange, wonderful family that fate had brought together. A human scientist, a Vexeri refugee, two children bridging the gap between species, and she knew that whatever challenges the future held, they would face them as one. In the night sky above them, stars twinkled like distant promises. Somewhere out there, other worlds were learning about what had happened on Earth, how humans had chosen compassion over fear, protection over exploitation, how a single mother's choice to help had changed the course of a species. Earth had found its place among the stars not through superior technology or military might, but through the simple, powerful act of protecting a child. The end.